I hope it's silver going up. I don't have a crystal ball, but
No.
it's gold at these prices is obviously quite good. We're making a substantial amount of money on our gold sales, which is really nice to see. I hope that changes for silver. Coined that phrase, over a decade ago, and when I was laughed at and criticized a number of times, and now there's other people out there talking about even higher numbers than $100. I've seen estimates of $200 to $300 silver, which I've never predicted, but that would be pretty incredible if that happened.
The growing divergence between gold and silver prices captures the attention of investors and analysts alike, as central banks continue to bolster gold reserves while silver's industrial demand rises sharply. The gold-to-silver ratio currently sits above 100, a striking deviation from the historical average of around 50. Keith Neumeyer, CEO of First Majestic Silver, consistently highlights this imbalance as a clear signal that silver remains significantly undervalued. He emphasizes that silver's essential dual role, as both a monetary metal and a critical industrial resource, is overlooked, largely due to the influence of Wall Street's paper silver markets, which suppress its true market price. This disconnect between gold and silver prices reflects deeper distortions within the metals market. On the supply side, silver fundamentals tighten rapidly, with global demand outstripping mine supply year after year. Annual silver demand surpasses 1.2 billion ounces, while mining output lingers below 900 million ounces. Neumeyer stresses that over 70% of this demand comes from industrial sectors like solar energy, electric vehicles, and advanced electronics. He frequently warns that silver's increasing industrial reliance makes it strategic enough to be classified as a national security metal. Meanwhile, the dominance of paper silver markets masks the shrinking availability of physical silver. This growing gap between physical supply and paper contracts raises the risk of a major short squeeze, which could disrupt the market dramatically and challenge the large financial institutions currently relying on synthetic silver positions. Looking ahead, many investors see a revaluation of silver as not just likely, but inevitable. As gold steadily attracts institutional capital, silver's lag creates what Neumeyer describes as a rare, once-in-a-generation investment opportunity. The current gold-to-silver price ratio is grossly misaligned with the mining reality. Around 7 ounces of silver are mined for every ounce of gold, indicating silver is trading at a steep discount. Neumeyer argues that if silver returns to its historic ratio relative to gold, its price could easily double. He further suggests that a $100 silver price is not merely speculative, but achievable in the event of a supply shock or market reset. Now, we present the clips from Keith's interview with SOAR Financially. Before we continue to discuss this, please subscribe to our channel and activate the bell icon for timely updates. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Well, the gold ratio has been at this level only 3 times, I think, in the last, in history actually. And every time it hits this ratio, it always goes back. It seems a little bit sticky, with the good performance on gold, but I think silver will start to get a bid. The silver story is getting out there. People are hearing, it's not a poor man's gold. It's actually a strategic metal, and it's required for even this video that we're doing today. Without silver, we couldn't do this, and people are waking up to that fact. And we just came back from London with some institutional shareholders that are really looking at the silver space, and it's quite nice to see. Well, I think it could, but I think more likely we're going to find a supply shock, because we've had deficits now for 5 years, and you can't run deficits like that forever. The silver's coming from somewhere, obviously, but these banks who have these paper shorts that are delivering into the commercials. If you're BMW or Samsung, you've got to deal with one of the banks, and they have a paper contract against that trade, and they're getting metal from the miners and delivering that metal to these big consumers. And I think what's going to happen is the bank just won't simply be able to find the metal, and compliance department will walk into the trading desk and say, hey, what the heck are you guys doing? We can't fulfill this contract for this metal that we're supposed to be delivering to this customer. And then they force the trading department to move in and start collapsing some of those trades. I put the company together 22 years ago, and I've been educating the market on silver ever since. And when I was put the company together, I chose silver because it was so unique and so strategic in my opinion. And we've had rallies, periodically, and I think, I think, as I said, it will perform nicely. But we're consuming, over 1.2 billion ounces, as through industry, and 70% of that's industrial, and we're only producing as the mining sector 830 million ounces a year. So, that disconnect, and it looks like, the ball's not going to go backwards. Solar panel production is not going to, start to fall off. Computer production, cell phone production, all these big drivers of the silver demand aren't going anywhere. Central banks are buying gold, and they're not buying silver. Maybe we need central banks to start buying silver. I don't know, but it is very much a disconnect. The mining sector produces, for every 1 ounce of gold, only 7 ounces of silver. The theory is that there's 16 ounces of silver in the Earth's crust compared to gold, and we're not even close to mining 16. We're only mining 7 to 1. So, having a ratio of over 100 just makes absolutely no sense to me. Well, it should be triple digits, right? I coined that phrase, over a decade ago, and when I was laughed at and criticized a number of times, and now there's other people out there talking about even higher numbers than $100. I've seen estimates of $200 to $300 silver, which I've never predicted, but that would be pretty incredible if that happened.
2024 silver experiences a significant price increase, reaching nearly $35 per ounce as the year's final quarter begins, levels not seen in 12 years. This surge is largely driven by mounting political uncertainty in the United States ahead of the presidential election, coupled with escalating geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, particularly the looming threat of conflict between Israel and Iran. Keith Neumeyer highlights how these geopolitical risks drive investors towards silver as a safe haven. By late October, silver's price rises more than 40%, surpassing gold's 33% gain over the same period. However, silver remains below its 2011 peak of $49.80 per ounce. Compared to the 2010 rally, when silver climbed nearly 80%, there is still substantial potential for further appreciation. Industry experts like Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, highlight silver as one of the most promising assets currently, predicting it could reach $50 per ounce thanks to its strong industrial demand and safe haven status. The World Silver Survey 2024 supports this outlook, emphasizing the metal's growing use in critical energy transition sectors, such as solar energy and electric vehicles, which have significantly increased silver consumption. This rising industrial demand and constrained supply put upward pressure on prices. Analysts at Kitco forecast silver will continue to climb in 2025, with estimates ranging from $36 to $38 per ounce, while some remain optimistic that silver could hit $50. These projections reflect ongoing investor confidence fueled by expanding green technologies and the metal's dual role as both an industrial essential and a hedge against economic uncertainty.
I don't know where it's going to come from. You've got Pan American, who owns the asset down in Guatemala, and who knows if it'll ever come back into production. They were producing 20 million ounces a year, but when it was shut down, but 20 million ounces, even if it came back tomorrow, the entire mining sector produces 830 million ounces. So how does 20 million ounces affect the market? Probably not very much. Pan American's got another asset called Navidad in Argentina. It doesn't look like that's ever going to get permitted. Who knows? They may say something different. Other than that, there's, another, I think Bear Creek, I think it is, has got an asset in Peru, but it's decades away. It was interesting. I looked at I was listening to a CEO of another mining company on stage at a mining conference a few months ago, and they did analysis, and they came up with a number of 18 years. So from drill bit to first production, on average, it takes 18 years. So that's pretty shocking. If you have a market like silver, 830 million ounces being produced annually, and consumption is 1.2 billion or even 1.3 billion thereabouts. That's a serious supply demand problem. what is it going to take to fix that? Even if we had triple-digit silver tomorrow, which I'm the first guy to ever coin that phrase. I'm the triple-digit silver guy. I know there's others that have now come along and suggested similar types of numbers, but I came up with that phrase about 10 years ago. I do think we're going to get there. But even if we did get there, what's the mining sector going to do? How is the mining sector going to react? You've still got permitting, you've still got all the construction, you've still got discovery, of course, as well. But at 18 years, how long is it going to take to fill that gap? The big mining companies are still using $1,600 gold for their valuations, we're going through our H2 budgeting right now, and we're trying to figure out what metal price, we should use for our H2 budgeting. And, the accountants, the geologists, the engineers, all the professional people that work in this sector, the metals have moved so fast, so fast that no one's repricing their valuations. So if the major mining executives that run all these gold mines or gold companies, silver companies around the world don't believe in the metal price, why should the institutions believe in it? And they've seen this happen before. They've seen metal prices spike and then they collapse. And I think there's an expectation that this is a short-lived phenomenon that is too risky to invest in. And that's led by the mining companies. You're not seeing the mining companies taking out these juniors. There's lots of juniors out there with 43-101 resources in the ground that could be economic mines sometime in the future, and everyone's got their hands on their they're sitting on their hands doing nothing. If that was to change, if the mining companies want to get or decide to get more aggressive, maybe the institutional investor will say, hey, these guys actually believe that this market's for real, and this is the early stages of a bull market. We're going to look at this sector and we're going to start to invest alongside the major mining companies. And we're just simply not there yet.
Silver stands out as both a critical industrial metal and a monetary asset, increasingly vital due to its role in green technologies like solar panels, electric vehicles, and electronics. It also offers investors an affordable entry into precious metals through silver bars and coins. Its dual demand underscores its growing importance in the global shift towards sustainability and economic transformation. As governments and industries accelerate efforts to combat climate change, silver's industrial consumption is expected to rise steadily, further tightening supply amid already constrained markets. Historically, silver tends to lag behind gold in bull markets, but often experiences sharp gains once momentum picks up. If gold reaches around $4,000 per ounce, even a modest adjustment in the gold-to-silver ratio could push silver prices toward $40, not seen since 2011, making silver's catch-up potential a compelling opportunity for investors seeking both industrial exposure and monetary value. That's it for today. Share your thoughts on Keith's prediction on gold and silver prices in the comment section below. If you find this video informative, please support and turn on notifications to stay informed about our latest videos. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.